Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session on getting started with PC Matic. My name is Corey Munson. I'm a vice president here at PC Matic. I'm joined by my teammate, Jeff York, who heads up our product support team. And what we want to do today is take some time to help out folks that are just getting started with PC Matic for the first time and have some questions about the basics and address some of the most commonly asked questions that we hear internally about PC Matic and how to best use it. Now, we talk about getting started with PC Matic. This doesn't mean if you've been a PC Matic customer for a while and you need a refresher on some of the basics, there's still some value in you sitting in on this call here today. And we appreciate you taking time to do that. The other thing I want to mention is one, we want to go out of our way to make sure that you understand how much we appreciate your loyalty and your business as PC Matic customers. We don't take that for granted. In our 25 years plus in business, we owe most of that success, if not all of that success, to loyal customers like yourself. So we appreciate your ongoing loyalty and support of what we're trying to do here, and to trying to help users like yourself better protect yourselves, your privacy, your family there at home. So the agenda here for today, we'll talk about just briefly, and then we'll move on to some housekeeping and then get started. One, we'll go through, like I said, some of the most commonly asked questions about PC Matic. We'll take some time for Q&A at the tail end. If you've got questions that you have discussed before with our support team and didn't get a chance to resolve, or maybe a question you've never had an opportunity to ask, this is your opportunity to do so. So if you'll take a second right now, and within your GoToWebinar console that you just logged in through, there should be an icon with a question mark. If you click on that, that'll give you the ability to go ahead and submit any comment you want directly to us. Jeff and I will have visibility to those comments and questions, and we'll be able to address as many of those as we possibly can in the next, say, 40, 45 minutes. So if you want to test it out now just by sending some sort of message about where you're logging in from, how long you've been a customer, anything like that, feel free to do so. And that'll be your means of communicating with us on an ongoing basis during the course of this session. And we want this to be as interactive as possible. Number two housekeeping item. Immediately following our session, as you log off today, a survey will pop up, a short survey that asks for your opinion about the value of today's session, what you'd like to see in future sessions. If you have a question you didn't get a chance to answer, it gives you the ability to submit those questions. But finally, it gives you a very unique opportunity I just want to lay out for you to ask a question that maybe is outside of the scope of PC Matic. If you've got a general cybersecurity question, or a question about online scams, or ways to better protect your own privacy or the privacy of your family, you have an opportunity to submit those questions there. And we have a team not only of cybersecurity experts that work directly with us here at PC Matic, but we've got a network of cybersecurity experts, including some former law enforcement officers from the FBI, Secret Service, and others that will take the time to supply answers to those questions. So again, a super unique opportunity to get some of those questions answered. And what we'll do is sort through those after this session and be on the lookout through social media and our newsletters for those answers to be presented probably in video form, blog form, any number of ways you may see those addressed. And finally, I know that more than half of you that are joining us here today are also PC Matic VPN customers, virtual private network customers, some of which may just be getting started. Next week, next Wednesday at the same exact time at 2 o'clock, we'll be hosting a separate session for those that are getting started with VPN. If you'd like to register for that session and participate, in the chat, we'll be providing you a link that you'll be able to click on and register directly. And we'd love to have you participate in that as well. VPN's incredibly popular addition to our product lineup, and we've welcome the opportunity to help you through that setup and make sure it's functioning like you need it to function. So at this point, with all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my partner here, Jeff. He's going to walk through, again, some of the more commonly asked questions of people that are getting started with PC Matic. He manages our support team, so he deals with this on an ongoing basis, and we'll talk about some of the best practices over the next 30 minutes or so. But please, as I mentioned before, take this opportunity to start submitting your questions now, and we'll get to as many of those as possible once Jeff gets wrapped up with the presentation. With that, Jeff, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Corey. And as Corey alluded to, this presentation is not just for people who just purchased PC Matic and need to know how to get started. Um, it's actually wrapped up into one of our biggest questions. We kind of merged the two together. Whenever we're doing surveys and reaching out to our customers, we hear what you're asking. And one of the biggest questions we're constantly asked on the help desk through surveys is, how do I know it's working? So this, which also ties into exactly how you would get the product to start if you were a brand new customer. So these, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone and answer one of the most commonly asked questions on the help desk, as well as, how do you get started with PC Matic and make sure that your device is protected? So the first thing you need to know about PC Matic, it is essentially three components. So there's a real-time protection component, which is constantly running and blocking any kind of threats that would try to run on your device. Then there is the PC Matic dashboard. That's the UI that you would open up, the user interface, sorry, that you would open up, and it will give you the ability to manage your subscription, other computers, check the scan results, just sort of your little dashboard, your little instrument panel, if you will. It just kind of gives you a heads up on how everything's working. And then the next part of it is the actual malware maintenance scans that occur. So those three components, to answer the question, how do I know it's working? Well, you would need to make sure that all three of those components are working. So that leads to three questions. Does the PC Matic dashboard open? That would be your first one. Is SuperShield on? And once you verify that, you find out, is the program actually scanning like it is supposed to? So we'll get into a little bit more. That's not such the last one, there's a little bit more to it, based on if you have scheduled scan set or whatever, but we'll get to that part when we get to the section, and we'll go over that a little bit more. So the first thing, before we skip ahead, like I said, we're trying to roll this into two things, two objects into one presentation, is the install process. So we've tried to make the installation as simple as possible. You will download the link, or you will get a link to download when you purchase the product. Or if you're trying to reinstall PC Matic on another device, you would simply just go to the PC Matic support site and then type in, how do I install PC Matic? You could click up at the very top under My Account, click the download link. There's also a help beacon with the question mark in the bottom right-hand corner of every page on PC Matic. You click on that and you type in install, or even just type in the word install, and you'll be getting an article will be at the very top, and that article will have every single installation link. You'll click whichever device you are trying to install on, and then you will get a set of instructions and links for that specific device. So for this one, just for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to go with one of our most commonly used formats, which is Windows. So you begin by installing by clicking on the Windows installation link, and you will see it download, as you see in shot number 1. And then number 2, it will tell you the download is complete. You will open the file. Number 3, this is an important one. It's going to ask you if you want to allow the app to make changes. You have to say yes, because it is an antivirus, so making changes is going to be removing a file or altering a service that is deemed potentially unwanted, or doing the other maintenance items in the scan. It's going to have to make changes to the device. So if you don't allow it to make changes, the installation will complete, but the product will not work correctly. So that is an important part. Just always make sure you say yes. Well, not always. If it's your antivirus, yes, say yes. Then the next step, number 4, is it will tell you it's ready to install once it does its little setup on the back end. And as soon as the installation is complete, you're going to be met with a sign-in screen. And the sign-in screen is going to be your email and password that you used when creating the PC Matic account. So whenever you create the account, it asks you to enter an email, and then it asks you to enter a password. So For those of you who have been with us a while, you know that that is your pass key. We don't use license keys. We use the email password combination. Um, we actually have some exciting advancements with the login procedure, but those are not all the way out yet. So we will go over them whenever we officially roll those out. But for now, we're going to discuss what we are currently using, which is email and password. So when you want to install PC Matic on any other device in your household or on your family's, one of your family's devices, you will need to use that same email and password. That is your license key. That is going to be something you want to tuck away and make sure that you have on file. It'll just make your life a lot easier if you remember those two items.
Hey, Jeff, before we go further, Paul has a question
Sure.
about installation on mobile devices specifically.
Okay.
And we
So
don't have a slide dedicated to it, but can you talk to it?
yeah, sure. Installation on mobile devices is actually a little bit easier. For anybody who doesn't know that whenever you're on a mobile device, they do not allow any downloads typically that don't go through their official store. So the Android would all the only apps and programs you can install on it would have to come from the Google Play Store, and with iOS or Apple, iPhone, iPad, you'd have to go through the App Store. So we have two apps. We have an app hosted in the Google Play Store. We have an app hosted in the App Store. You could search, install, and on that installation page, it will give you the option to select the instructions for either Android or iOS, which is your Apple mobile. Or you could just simply go to the App Store that you download all of your normal apps and search PC Matic, and then click on the app that shows up in the search results and install, and that is it. Once again, you will have to log in with your email and password, but once you do that, your device is officially added to your subscription, and it begins working from that point on. So if that is there, hopefully that answered your question. If not, please follow up with Corey if you have any additional information you wanted on that, or I can open a ticket for you and we can walk through the process at a later time after this. But we'll move on to the next slide. So then once you install and once you log in, it is going to open the dashboard. So if you remember from our initial slide, of our checklist items, will the dashboard open? So once you install the software, when you're getting started, you are now verifying that the program dashboard is open. So this is where, like I said, it's your sort of your control panel. You see everything about the program right here at a glance. Let's see. One thing I did want to point out before I got too far in advance is we have added the alerts icon. And whenever you might want to make it a habit of, as you're opening PC Matic, just to do your normal maintenance checks. If there are any existing alerts, go ahead and click on that, and you will find all kinds of information and news available there, such as these webinars. Also, any updates that we have rolled out, plans for the future. We're going to eventually start doing threats and upcoming threats and security blogs and just information that is useful to know. I know the holiday season is coming very, very soon, whether we like it or not, and it will soon be shopping season, and most shopping is done online, and we always try to make sure that we do a piece on how to keep yourself protected when doing online holiday shopping, especially with whatever new threats have made themselves appear for this specific year. But yeah, just wanted to point that out as part of the dashboard. Always check your alerts. There's some valuable information. Try not to beat you over the head with it, but it is worth your while in most cases. Another area is not only can you monitor the your dashboard and if the program's running, if there was any recent blocks, but you can also, if you click the little devices tab as you see highlighted in the screen, you will see the other computers or devices that are on your account. You could manage those devices because there is a little X. You can delete by clicking the X. You can delete any device from your account by clicking that X. And then for each of the devices, you will have the ability to set a scan and read the scan reports if it is a PC or a Mac device. The mobile devices are a completely standalone entity because of how they work. Like I said, we can have if there is some interest, we could do a completely dedicated Android or an iOS class for the future to kind of go over what they are. But the reason you don't see any scan information or the ability to set a scan for Android or iPhone is because they are standalone device. There are standalone apps. They work kind of on their own. Any scan you would set would be through the app on your actual phone, so you wouldn't be able to handle it through the dashboard like you could all the rest of your devices. So with that being said, we realized that the PC Matic opened up, the dashboard opened up, and so that is our first item checked off on the list for getting started. And also, is PC Matic working? So then we move on to the next. Is SuperShield turned on? So SuperShield is the real-time protection at part of the program. So PC Matic is the scan and information. SuperShield is always running and is always scanning every single file that is running right now on your computer. It is right now currently scanning these GoToMeetings files that you're viewing our presentation through, just to make sure that nothing has infiltrated those files. It is always running, always keeping you safe. So it is sort of the heartbeat of your protection. And if you have this running, even if the scans are not working or the dashboard is not open, you could breathe a sigh of relief because nothing is going to be getting into your device. The best way to figure that out is to click the little up arrow. When you click on it, it becomes a down arrow, but before clicking on it, it is an up arrow, and that is down there in the bottom right beside your time and date, your volume. That's in the area known as the system tray. Then it pops up this little window, as you can see in the screenshot here. And there is the icon. The green icon means all systems go. SuperShield is turned on and blocking. You can also click on SuperShield, that same icon, and it will give you a list of different options. And if you want to take it a step further to verify that SuperShield is running and working correctly, the first screen you'll see is on the left here, where it says About SuperShield, which will tell you your current version. Then click on Protection Level. And then if you see down here where it says SuperShield Protection checked, that's what you want to see. We do offer an industry standard protection. This is typically for testing scenarios. It is there for emergency use only. We strongly advise to never use that because it would, it completely goes against how we do our protection and how we keep you guys safe. So then there's also the ability to, manipulate SuperShield if you want to, or if you're noticing one of your files or programs that you like to use is being blocked. This is where you would manipulate SuperShield to allow that program to continue to run. Well, once again, that we don't want to take too much of a deep dive into that because that in itself could probably be a good, course all by. So we'll stop there and we'll move on to the
So
next.
Jeff, I think it's probably worth
Go ahead.
stating again, just for everyone's clarity, that SuperShield is a feature within PC Matic. So if you
Correct.
are a PC Matic customer, you have the PC Matic antivirus security software installed on your system, that means you have SuperShield. SuperShield just happens to be the real-time protection agent that runs inside the PC Matic universe. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. It is installing automatically when you install PC Matic. So you don't have to worry about if you got it or if you had to go somewhere separate to get that protection. It comes along with PC Matic.
Great.
Okay, so the next item on the checklist has been completed. SuperShield is on. We are protected. The dashboard is installed and working correctly. So we are one step away from realizing that the program is working or getting the program officially started and running on your device. Next item is to check on just the scans to see if they are actually running. Um, Over here, if you go back to earlier where we were earlier on the dashboard by clicking on devices, one of the options underneath each of the computers is scheduler. So you could click on this scheduler item for that device, and there you will see any scans that are applied to that specific device. If you notice, there's a little pencil and a box icon right under the term global. There you can edit this specific scan. It will tell you when the scan will run, what type of scan. So this is a weekly quick scan. And if you were to click the little pencil icon, you can make adjustments to the scan settings, or you can make it a full scan. You could make it a monthly scan. You could skip the malware altogether. One thing I did want to point out, and this is because I have such a heavy involvement with the tickets that are coming in. One of the biggest things is when customers say, "How come I have not gotten my scheduled scans emails?" Sometimes this thing has not been checked, or it has been unchecked in somewhere. You set up a new scan and simply overlooked it. But yes, usually this is, if you're wondering where your scans went, clicking the edit button and verifying whether or not email report to is checked off, then that would be step number one. If it's there, then open the ticket. If not, if you select to turn it on, it'll probably start sending you the emails again. And then there's the other update installed applications, scan system event logs. That is essentially grabbing any information about breakdowns or anything bad that is happening on your device, or if there's a malicious file and we need additional information to make a decision, things like that. So these are just the Windows event logs. You can turn those on or off, but we advise to keep it turned on so that we have, when you do open a ticket, we have enough information to help you.
So Jeff, we've got a question. Some folks are looking for clarification. We talked about SuperShield as the real-time protection, and once you've got it installed, that's what's actually protecting your system.
Correct.
Let's talk about the difference between that and what the scan is doing.
Okay, sure. So the real-time protection is obviously making sure that nothing is getting in. The scan is checking for vulnerabilities. It is checking for outdated software. It's essentially making sure that there is no soft spots in your security on your device that a virus could somehow try to worm its way through. Because SuperShield is going to handle the direct to front attacks that are trying to just enter your computer. There are sneakier ways SuperShield will probably catch them, but the scan just makes sure. Why leave it up to chance when you could just be double sure? The scan is going to go ahead and remove anything that, say, SuperShield finds a bad file and it blocks it. The scan is going to remove that and completely delete it from your device. So it's not even dormant or in your quarantine any longer. And like I said, it also does maintenance. Keeping all of your applications updated is one of the most overlooked items that you can do to make sure your device is secure. So that it does that for you as well. And then also cleaning out your junk, making sure your hard drive is running at top speed, just decluttering your device overall, and making sure there's no weaknesses in the perimeter of your security. So it is essential. But like I said, if you were ever in an issue or a situation where your scans were not working and you're working with support, as long as SuperShield is working, you're more than likely safe. But the scans are an essential element, and they do provide a great service. And this is just weekly and monthly scans. We do a daily system scan automatically. And that daily system scan is scanning whether or not there were any malicious files, anything that happened, kind of scanning SuperShield to get a report on that, making sure none of the files of PC Matic have been corrupted, checking your device. So that happens daily, whether you schedule that or not. And you'll see that in the dashboard. It'll tell you, last scan run this, yesterday or today. There'll be consistently a scan time for those daily system checks listed there.
So Jeff, I think this is a good segue to your next slide here. Paul was asking where to find the scan reports, other than
Okay,
the fact
yeah,
that they can be delivered to your inbox, but there's a way to
correct.
see them here, right?
Exactly, yeah. So as you can see here, so the same menu that I opened the scheduler from, devices, as you see, you will go ahead and click the um, reports tab there, and you'll have scan reports, SuperShield reports, and quarantine files. Quarantine files, if there was a file or malicious file that was added to the quarantine, you'll see it there. More times than none, you're not going to see anything there, um, because SuperShield is not allowing anything on the device. The SuperShield reports is going to be typically every single thing that there's that it has scanned. So a lot of people do check this and expect to only see bad files. So when they see a whole bunch of files on this list, they kind of panic and they say, "Well, what in the world?" Unless it has a big red X, then you won't. It's not indicating that it was an actual negative file. It's just telling you all the files that were scanned. It's not 100%. You don't need to look at it daily, but it is there if you ever need it or you need it for auditing purposes. You never know. But for actual scan reports, it's right here at the top. You'll click scan reports, and then it will open up this secondary drop-down menu. You click select scan date, and it will have a scan date for every single scan report that is here. So if there's a date here, then that means that scan completed and there is a report available. Highlighting that date will download the scan file, or populate the actual scan results right there on your screen. Um, Kind of going along with what I was discussing about verifying whether your scans are working. If you've ever, kind of questioned why have my scans suddenly stopped, another good place to check to see if they have legitimately stopped, or if maybe there's an issue with the email delivery system or spam or something like that. You click this list, and if you actually see a date, then the scan did occur. There was just an issue with the delivery of the scan results. So once again, just sort of a peace of mind. Whenever you think something is not occurring, it's good to know that it's just a simple email delivery issue as opposed to the program's not working correctly. But anyway, yeah, this is another good tool, and you can see every single scan that PC Matic has ever run on your device. Um, but after that, that is it. So once you verify all three of these items are good, then you are in fact using the program correctly. The program is installed. You are ready to be protected by PC Matic. And if you are a long-time user and you're just wanting to double check to see if it's still working, well, the answer is yes. If you can answer all three of these questions with a yes, then all systems are go, and you have nothing to worry about. You are being completely protected. The way PCMatic does the whitelisting protection or allow listing protection, it will it does not let anything on your device that has not already been approved as good, which is completely different than how everybody else in the industry does it. The reason they don't typically do it is because it is hard. It's a lot of hard work that they put in on the back end, especially our researchers, because you're having to verify every single thing that runs on someone's computer before it's allowed to run. It's easier for them to allow things to run, and if it misbehaves, then pull it. But that requires a victim in most cases. Allow listing is a victimless approach. So as long as everything is your scans are running, SuperShield's turn on, and your dashboard is currently opening, and you can see all your information, your device will be protected, and you'll have nothing to worry about. At least in terms of the security of your computer. I can't guarantee all aspects of life, but for sure your computer will be great. Um, and that is it. That is all I have. And I think Corey's going to open it up for some additional questions.
Yeah, we definitely have some questions coming in. I think one of the first things that people are asking about here, Jeff, and again, I think we believe that more than half of the people logging in today are currently PCmatic VPN customers. For those that aren't, let's talk a little bit about why you would need VPN in addition to your antivirus. And I think it's as really as simple as understanding that the antivirus is protecting you against potentially clicking on a link in an email that potentially has some malware that might infect your system. Whereas we're talking about with VPN is a tool that will guard your privacy as you're out on the internet and exchanging information across the internet. Help me kind of fill in the blanks there, because I think some folks think if I've got an antivirus, I don't need VPN. But this is definitely a case where there are layers to security, and the VPN is a great additional layer.
Right. Yes. And you basically outlined it perfectly. It's the the antivirus is going to protect everything on your network, everything on your devices, anything that tries to hurt that system, or if you have information stored specifically only on that system, then PCmatic will keep it safe. However, if you put that information out onto the internet, well, now it is beyond SuperShield's control, because SuperShield is only monitoring your device. So when you put your information out onto other websites, or other services, or you're out and about and you're on your phone, even though you have the PCmatic app, but you're accessing somebody else's Wi-Fi, via like another company's Wi-Fi as you're shopping. The information that you put out into the web is beyond the protection of an antivirus, which is where the VPN comes in. So it's essentially kind of like if you had a bunch of bodyguards at your home, your children would be safe, but the minute they go to school, well then that the bodyguards at the house are not going to protect them once they leave the threshold. So yeah, that is essentially just peace of mind to keep your information, all of your private information that you are giving websites when you are making purchases or whatever else you're doing. And let's face it, there's a lot of it. We give a lot of information to every company we deal with. It's just the nature of the beast, and everybody's just sort of accepted it by now. But that information can be used to, hurt you negatively, financially, uh, identity theft, all kinds of things. They can hack into your accounts, to your banks, So, but that information is protected with a VPN. So that's essentially the biggest part. Your antivirus is viruses attacking your computer. The VPN is your critical information to keep your identity and your banking and everything safe.
Yeah, I think that's the point worth restating here is even if you're just out browsing on the internet, either knowingly or unknowingly, there is information about you being shared, about the computer you're logging in from, potentially where the site you were browsing before you went to the next site. And what a VPN really does is help you make yourself more anonymous as you're doing this, which opens you up to all sorts of new possibilities in terms of any restrictions that might be in place geographically on what you can view or content you might access. There's even been cases we know of where if you're visiting a particular shopping site, you may see certain pricing based on where you're visiting from in the world. This would allow you to visit that site anonymously and not be served a price based on your browsing history or where you're logging in from. So again, VPN, incredibly important additional layer on top of the antivirus software that you currently already have. And if it's something you are interested in, if you don't already have it, you'll be receiving an email within the next 24 hours. They'll give you a link that would allow you to purchase it at a significant discount for year one there. And again, if you already have PC Matic VPN and you have questions about setup or to validate that it's configured correctly, if you check the chat, I sent out the registration link for the webinar that'll be next Wednesday. We'll do something very similar for VPN specifically. So some other questions that came in, and some of these are definitely support related, Jeff. Steve says when he logs in, nothing shows on his device's screen. Is there
Okay.
maybe some simple troubleshooting, or is that something he should open up a ticket and have a conversation with
Yeah,
support?
that so I could definitely tell you in a simplified version what's happening. So when you open PC Matic, it is pulling your information, your customer information from the servers. And whenever it is a blank white screen, this means one of two things. Either the connection between your device and our servers is not being allowed through a firewall or some sort of a security restriction, or the ActiveX or whatever component that actually reads the digital information that comes in and displays it is corrupted. So it's two things. Um, I couldn't tell you without looking a little bit further. We'd have to look at some additional information. So you would definitely have to open a ticket for that. Typically, lately it's been the TLS 1.1 and 1.2 issue, which is a security layer where you're distributing information with a certain security level. And the older models used to only use 1.1, and some of the newer devices don't have the 1.2 checked. So simply checking that will kind of clear up the security issue and allow the transmission to happen. But it's best to open a ticket. Without seeing a little bit more, I wouldn't be able to really resolve this issue.
Yeah, and Steve and anyone else that is asking a support related question like that, as part of our follow up in the next 24 hours, we'll have a team member that will actually open a ticket for you if it's something we weren't able to address directly on this session. So you can feel free to go open it yourself if you know how to do that. But if it's not something you're familiar with, we'll be in contact with you to help resolve that. This question has come up a couple of times now, Jeff. It's about installation on mobile devices and whether you have to launch PC Matic off of that mobile device each time, or is that just something that runs in the background?
It is something. So yeah, it's something that runs in the background when working correctly. So hold on one sec. Yeah, so it will be on in the background on Apple. Typically, there's not an icon that appears and makes itself visible. You won't see it until you go online because the iOS app is a content blocker, and that's where you'll see it. It's sitting there monitoring your internet traffic and things like that, blocking bad things from showing up. The Android device does run in the background, and typically there will be a small little icon in in your little system tray at the top with that shows all of your other running applications. So, and that should pop on every time you turn the device on. If not, then there's probably an issue that we need to look at, and you can open a ticket for that if that's not what you're seeing.
Great. There were a couple questions about communications that we might be sending out, either about scheduled scans or any type of reports or alerts. And I think we can really speak to two, one of which we're working on, and I can even speak to it directly because it's a project I'm a big fan of. But let's start with if you've got a scheduled scan set up, um, the results of that scan will typically be emailed directly to those folks. Is that right, Jeff?
Yes, as long as they've checked the button I was showing you in one of the slides that you're selecting to have that scan emailed to you to that address that's on file, then yes, it will be sent to you as soon as the scan is completed. Checking your spam folder sometimes is it'll end up going there, and you can just say this is not spam, and they'll stop going there if you ever have an issue with that.
I think that's a really real critical piece because email clients are becoming more and more finicky these days
Right.
on what they're classifying as spam. So if you're expecting a report like that or expecting an email from us, you don't see it, make a point of checking your spam filter. Like Jeff said, there's usually some option for you to select this as not spam. Do that, and that will help you receive those going forward. The scheduled scan emails are pretty slick. They're very detailed look at what the scan results showed. It'll give you some context around that data. It'll take a look at whether you have a VPN, whether you have a VPN installed, whether you've been using it, give you some tips on other options you might have to improve your security. So the scheduled scan is one communication. The other communication that is in the works right now, and we've done it in the past, and we're going to restart it just because it's been something people have been asking for, is a monthly report that goes out regardless of whether you have your scheduled scans set up or not, but gives you a summary of what the product's actually been doing for you over the course of the month. I'd say we're probably maybe 30, 60 days away from these going out on a regular basis. But if you followed the steps that Jeff outlined here today and everything's installed correctly, going forward, you'll be receiving a monthly communication from us about exactly what the product has detected and what it has accomplished for you. And I think people will really get some value out of that. So
And I kind of wanted to
yeah,
piggyback off that, Corey, because like you said, you're kind of a fan of the project with these scan reports. We are always looking to provide as much information that you would want to see. Because a lot of us we've been in this industry forever. So what is important to us may not be important to you on your scan report. So if there's ever anything that you think is missing, or maybe there's something that you think, well, I don't need to know that. Definitely let somebody know. You could comment directly to the scan reports, and they'll get sent to the help desk, or you could just simply drop us a line, via the little help icon on the support page. And somebody will reach back out to you. But we're definitely open to feedback because we're trying to do some new and exciting things with our scan reports. Just trying to express the value of the product to you guys.
absolutely. And one of the things we've really emphasized now is adding some context to the data. I think a lot of people in the past have just seen this list of all the different data points that the scan reveals without understanding exactly what that data means. And one of the things we've gone out of our way to do is to try to offer that context so you know why it's important to your security, your privacy, even the performance of your computer or whatever you have, whatever device you have this installed on. So that's definitely something to be looking for. I was going to see if there's maybe one or two other questions we can get to. Let's see here. It looks like Paul was having some issues with accessing the charts. I think
Yeah.
that's something we could probably open a ticket for him and
Yeah,
take
yeah,
a look at as to
yeah.
what's going on there.
The charts are coming directly from your Windows task manager. So it's usually a communications issue. Either that or the task manager is not displaying information for the chart. So
Got
that's
it.
an easy one. Just open a ticket.
There you go. Well, the plan today was to do about 45 minutes, which we're coming up on that deadline here. To reiterate a couple things that we talked about up at the top. One, immediately following closing out of your GoToWebinar session here, you'll have a survey that pops up. I believe it's about 5 questions. If you'd please take the time to answer those 5 simple questions. One, it'll provide us with good feedback on what other topics you would like to see covered in future webinars. Two, if you have questions that were not answered here or questions you didn't get a chance to even ask, it'll give you an opportunity to submit those. And then if you're interested in the VPN product and you don't currently have that, you can indicate an interest within that survey and we'll make sure that you get a link to purchase it at a discount. So make sure to look for that. And finally, again, this unique opportunity that I hope as many people take advantage of as possible is if you have general questions about cybersecurity, about online scams, about better ways to protect yourself and your family and your privacy overall, feel free to submit those as part of this survey. And we're going to have our team, including, like I mentioned, we've got retired FBI agents who consult with us on a regular basis who have indicated they are more than willing to help answer those questions and get answers out there to the community at large so that we can all better educate ourselves about how to be more cyber aware and take the steps needed to protect ourselves. In October, we're coming up on Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So it'll be a very, very big point of emphasis for the cybersecurity community, for the bigger, broader cybersecurity community. And there's going to be a lot of great information and a lot of great tips. This will give us an opportunity to address some of the questions you have directly and get them answered by people that are subject matter experts. So feel free to submit those. Also, double check the chat window there. We provided the link to the webinar regarding VPN for next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Central Time. If, again, you've already purchased VPN and you need some insight on how to get it set up and configured correctly, go ahead and sign up through that link. If you're interested in VPN and just simply want to know more about how it works, another great opportunity to learn more there and actually be able to ask some questions. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to go right to the registration and be ready to go. Lastly, be on the lookout in the next 24 hours for communications from our team. If you submitted a question here today, if you submitted a question through the survey, they'll be following up with you directly. If it happens to be a support-related issue, they'll let you know that they've opened a ticket with our support team and give you some guidance on what to be on the lookout for there. If you've indicated that interest, like we said, in VPN, you'll have a link there that you can even purchase directly. So with that being said, thank you again for your continued support of PC Matic and everything we do here. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We plan on doing these on a monthly basis, on a go-forward basis. So if there are particular topics you would like to see us address, please let us know in that survey, and we will take that to heart as we're planning these next sessions. But with that, Jeff, thanks for your time. Thanks everyone else for
Thanks for
logging
having
in.
me.
Have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
See you guys.